It's not that human activities didn't impact wildlife at all, of course. Heavily hunted species, like white-tailed deer, gray squirrels, and raccoons, were photographed somewhat less often in hunted areas. Coyotes showed up more often in hunted areas. While most species didn't avoid hiking trails, the predators actually preferred them.
For diplomacy, the starting point must be that globalization requires bridges and removes barriers. A policy of containment is a difficult strategy in the age of the fiber optic cable, the jumbo jet, and the satellite dish. There will always be the exception, such as the murderous regime in Iraq, where the only safe strategy is to keep it in the isolation ward until it accepts the norms of international behavior. Or the military dictatorship in Burma, which has persistently failed to respond to dialogue. It takes two to critically engage.
Margaret Simons explains the changes taking place in the Australian media. She analyzes audiences, our major media organizations, the role of government, and the implications of all of these for our society and our democracy. Her examination leads her to the conclusion that the challenges facing the content providers in the modern world are part of a broader striving, a very old struggle. We might call it the search for meaning.
Housing fulfills the basic needs that people have for security, privacy, and shelter. While the adequacy of housing is an important component of individual well-being, housing also has great impact on the nation's economy, with its influence on investment levels, interest rates, building activity, and employment.
Tourism is a challenging sector on which divides statistics, since businesses serving tourists also service local people. Therefore, it is not as straightforward to estimate how much business sector's revenue and how many jobs are due to tourist expenditures.
While far fewer people these days write letters and therefore have less use for stamps, there are still a few categories of stamp which attract collectors. Stamps in common use for an indefinite period, until the price goes up, are called definitive issues, while a more collectible type of stamp is the commemorative issue, honoring people, events and anniversaries.
All the works of art shown in this exhibition were purchased on a shoestring budget. The criteria that the curators had to follow were that works must be acquired cheaply, appeal to a broad range of tastes, and fit with unusual environments. Thus, many of our better-known modern artists are not represented.
What can history tell us about contemporary society? Generally, in the past, even in Europe until the 18th century, it was assumed that it could tell how any society should work. The past was the model for the present and the future. It represented the key to the genetic code by which each generation produced its successors and ordered their relationships.
The semiconductor industry has been able to improve the performance of electric systems for more than 4 decades by making ever smaller devices. However, this approach will soon encounter both scientific and technical limits, which is why the industry is exploring a number of alternative device technologies.
Global warming is defined as an increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere. This trend began in the middle of the 20th century and is one of the major environmental concerns of scientists and governmental officials worldwide. The changes in temperature result mostly from the effect of increased concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere.
A scientist's evidence is thought to be reliable because it will have been tested and verified at every stage. This is not, of course, infallible, as scientists are subject to human error as much as the rest of us.
Scientists know little about how exactly it works, especially when it comes to complex functions like memory formation. Research is more advanced in animals, but experiments on humans are hard. Yet, even today, some parts of the brain, like the motor cortex, are better understood. Nor is complete knowledge always needed. Machine learning can recognize patterns of neural activity. The brain itself gets the hang of controlling BCIS with extraordinary ease. And neurotechnology will reveal more of the brain's secrets.
It seems that, when it comes to love, men and women are designed to misconstrue, misread and misunderstand one another and themselves. Look more closely at the unconscious workings of the mating mind, however, and you discover that in fact they make good sense.
In recent years, there have been one or two significant happenings that have kept alive the hope that the deep sea may conceal strange links with the past. In December 1938, off the southeast tip of Africa, an amazing fish was caught alive, a fish that was supposed to have been dead for at least 60 million years.
Internal combustion engine, enabling the driver to decide which source of power is appropriate for the travel requirements of given journey. Major US auto manufacturers are now developing feasible hybrid electric vehicles, and some are exploring fuel cell technology for their electric cars.
Scientific studies show that by age 3 there is a gap in brain development between kids who are read to aloud and those who are not, and children from low-income families are disproportionately impacted by this gap.
Making sure all parents know the importance of reading aloud to their children is critical to closing the achievement gap.
At the end of this year, we will launch the Cup class boats. So these will be about twice the power. The sailors are down in cockpits, unlike today. A lot of power is being generated by these four grinders that are providing hydraulic power, and that energy is being used to control the flying surface, the hydrofoil, and is also being used to control the wing and the flaps, effectively the engine, of what we have.
Howard believes that all clouds belong to three distinct groups: cumulus, stratus, and cirrus. He added a fourth category, nimbus, to describe a cloud in the act of condensation into rain, hail, or snow. It is by observing how clouds change color and shape that weather can be predicted, and as long as the first three of cloud keep their normal shape, there won't be any rain.
First discovered in 2007, fast radio bursts continue to defy explanation. These cosmic chirps last a thousandth of a second. The characteristics of the radio pulses suggested that they came from galaxies billions of light years away. However, new work points to a much closer origin: flaring star within our own galaxy.
One of the unidentifiable objects in the study lies just outside Centaurus A, NGC 5128, an elliptical galaxy located about 12 million light-years from Earth. The other is in a globular cluster of stars found just outside NGC 4636, another elliptical galaxy located 47 million light-years from Earth in the constellation Virgo.